It's the movie that earned a 12-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival, which was a big relief for Austin Butler. He's the young actor Baz Luhrmann chose to bring the king back to life in his epic new film, Elvis, and he was feeling the pressure. I spoke to Austin and Baz on the Gold Coast, where the entire movie was shot.
He's a young singer from Memphis, Tennessee. Give him a warm hayride welcome, Mr. Elvis Presley.
Get a haircut, buttercup.
How does it feel to be back at the scene of the crime, back on the Gold Coast?
It feels like a dream. It feels like not a day has passed, but it's been about a year since I was here. And I woke up really early this morning and walked down the beach that was my beach where I would spend so much time, and it feels really magical. I feel very happy.
If I can take you from the moment you knew you had the role to that 12-minute standing ovation.
I've never felt more responsibility than I felt making this film, and the fear that's involved, and the weight of that. Feeling the reception in the room was just magical. It was really the most magical night of my life.
Tomorrow, all of America will be talking about Elvis Presley.
Does it try not to move around so much during the takes?
Whose opinion mattered to you most? Was it Priscilla and Lisa Marie Presley?
Yeah, it was.
Was it Baz?
Opinions of people who love Elvis around the world matter, but at the core was his family. You know, Priscilla knew him better than anybody, and it's Lisa Marie's father, you know, and Riley's grandfather. So their opinion was really, I felt such a responsibility to them. They said some very nice things.
There's a lot of people saying a lot of things, but in the end, you gotta listen to yourself.
In that moment, Elvis the man was sacrificed, and Elvis the God was born.
I'm gonna show you what the real Elvis is like tonight.
It was so much fun. Obviously, working with Catherine Martin, who's just such an icon, you know, in the way that she does things, her attention to detail, recreating these looks with the hair and makeup team. Like, we did weeks and weeks of fittings and hours of costume fittings. It was, yeah, what an experience. So much fun.
What did you pinch?
What did I what?
Did you pinch anything?
No, I mean, what did I, I wasn't allowed to. Because obviously Prada had collaborated with them to make all the costumes, so I think it's all gone
the
to
back
like
did that.
I know. They made these incredible go-go boots that were like custom made to my tiny calves, and I couldn't take them away. I know.
Therefore, you should be
illegal.
the one who has them.
Well, you should ring them up and tell them.
I am happy to say it's not the devil who needs to wear Prada, it's Olivia.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you very much.
We saw those glorious pictures of you and Priscilla on the red carpet at Cannes.
She was just lovely. I mean, to have her support and her encouragement, you know, on the film is above and beyond what we would have ever expected.
Never met anyone like you.
I hope not.
We can't go on together with suspicious minds.
Without me, there would be no Elvis Presley.
Suspicious minds.
Reverend once told me, things are too dangerous to say. Sing.
Baz.
Ange.
It's everything. It's amazing.
Really?
It hasn't left my head. Why Elvis? Why was he special for you?
Well, to know where we are now, you have to think about America in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And, you know, Elvis is at the crossroads of pop culture in all three periods.
He was my destiny.
We see it through the eyes of Colonel Tom Parker, and you chose Tom Hanks to play there. Now, we don't see Tom Hanks play bad. We don't see Tom Hanks play. And what did you see in him that, how did you know he'd work for this?
Well, I mean, I would cast Tom in anything. He's not just one of the great actors of our time, he's just one of the great actors of all time. When you're Tom Hanks and you're the most beloved actor in America, you're basically America's dad. Actors want to play different strings on their instruments. They don't always want to play the same tune.
I wish to promote you, Mr. Presley. Are you ready to fly?
I'm ready.
Priscilla, I need to talk about. She has been close to you through this production.
Early on, I met with her and she was great. And then we got estranged in a way because the pandemic kept me away from her. And she was worried. Could this young kid who hardly did anything, could he do Elvis? What was Austin and I going to do with her husband? I eventually screened it for her only about 4 weeks ago. She said, if my husband was here, he would say, hot damn, Austin, you are me. But it isn't just that. She said, he didn't do an impersonation. What he did was caught the spirit of Elvis. This man, he could be so beautiful and loving, but he could be angry too. And she said, I don't know how he knew it. How did Austin know that that was the way that Elvis got angry? Like, that was a very curious thing. Like, how did he know? Because it's not in a book, it's not in a video. The way he manifested Elvis's anger, they said it was like when Elvis had a tantrum.
Wow.
It was crazy, that. And then Lisa Marie, that was on a whole other level. So hard for her. Imagine being a little girl.
I can't.
And your dad's like this god, and for a while, he's a god, and then he's a joke, then he's a Halloween costume. And the maligning of Elvis, I mean, Elvis, the brand, the wallpaper, has had to take a lot of, if he's your father, or your husband, or your grandfather, he's had to take a lot of, you know, a lot of unfair maligning, actually.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Elvis Presley.
He did something when he went out there that was take all that fear and all that pressure and channeled it in some way. And so then it was my job to then go out there and figure out how to do that.
This ain't no nostalgia show. We're gonna do something different.
So much to unpack. You know, we know that COVID shut down the production for a while, and so that meant practically things like they had built Graceland on the Gold Coast, and it had to be wrapped in plastic for a year so that it was still there when they came back from it, you know, and sets like giant sets like that and amazing things. And then Austin Butler playing Elvis. So some of the movie is him singing, okay, because the recordings of Elvis from the 50s were done in mono, which essentially means the music and the voice were on the same track, so you couldn't separate them to use in a movie, if you know what I mean, because the music would still be there and the backing vocals and things. So the early stuff is Austin's voice, and then it sort of gets blended with Elvis's voice, and then later on we've got Elvis's voice. But Austin himself said he couldn't tell which was where, you know, where he is. You know, it's lovely being blended with Elvis's voice and so forth.
It's so right, though, that role for him to take on, that is such a heavy weight on young shoulders, right? When you think about, you know, that his daughter and his wife are still here to see it. That's right. That just makes it so much more important to get it right. And I like the idea of he didn't impersonate Elvis. He caught the spirit of Elvis.
Because there are a million Elvis impersonators out there, and this had to be so different.
I wasn't sure what to expect. I know what Baz does. He takes these stories and just makes them like these visual feasts. And, you know, it looks amazing, it sounds amazing, but I was a bit worried about this, but it looks phenomenal.
It's kind of the ultimate, I'd say, as an actor as well, because it's such a fine line. But like Rami Malek as well for Queen, it's kind of like it's that movie, that role as an actor that you want, because you can kind of bring your
Interestingly,
hero.
the same movement coach who taught Rami Malek to move like Freddie Mercury worked with Austin to get him to move like Elvis.
I can't wait to see it.
She's quite a wizard. So, yeah, there we go. So you will finally be able to see for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, when it opens in cinemas on the 23rd of June.